Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The weather may be foul out there, but it's spring in here. It's spring in our hearts, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, there are only two choices, really, in the upcoming general election. The three establishment parties, on one hand, that believe in the EU, and the United Kingdom Independence Party, which believes in Britain. Whatever way the media dresses it up, you're either voting to empower Brussels and the EU, or you are voting for UKIP to empower Great Britain and the British people. Either we vote for Britain to continue down the same slippery road of completely surrendering sovereignty, ultimately becoming a province of a federal Europe, or we vote for UKIP's independent Britain, a Britain ready to lead the great British Commonwealth as the greatest economic bloc ever known. So we have a choice. Either we vote for a Britain that is led or a Britain that leads. Ladies and gentlemen, if future generations are to remember us with gratitude rather than contempt, we must leave them not only with a legacy of economic growth and technological progress, we must leave them with the miracle, the great spectacle of the British countryside, of the world as it was in the beginning, not the world as it becomes after we ruin it and concrete it. Our policy is the same today as it was yesterday and as it will be tomorrow. We will stop all residential development on our countryside. Saving the countryside is not only our environmental responsibility. Someone's left his phone here. It is our patriotic duty. UKIP are straight talking, and as you may have noticed, that makes our friends in the political establishment somewhat uncomfortable. Sorry. We say yes or no to proposals and use sparingly the muffled language of the political classes, who prefer, of course, to use evasive phrases like, in the future, we will review, we will consider, rather than just simply saying, yes, we will, or no, we won't. And I want it to be restated here categorically that we will protect the British countryside. And we will do so not only by undoing the bogus Tory localism of imposing untenable housing targets on local authorities, but by scrapping HS2 and putting an end to one of the biggest scams in modern history. And that scam, ladies and gentlemen, is the European Union wind farm project. When I first met Nigel, over lunch, still deciding whether to join UKIP, I asked Nigel, come on Nigel, what's the main difference then between you and the other party leaders? His answer was, I believe in Britain. Those four magic words resonated with me more than anything that I had previously heard from any British politician. Because believing in Britain means believing in us, believing in the British people. Believing that Britain is, and has always been, first and foremost, a global power, Britain of all continents, not a Britain with her horizons limited to Europe by an introverted EU. Believing in Britain means not concreting the best countryside in the world. And why? To make up for the fact that Labour, Lib Dems and Conservatives have failed to plan and prepare for their open-door immigration policies. Ladies and gentlemen, we are leading the housing debate, and I am proud to say we will be going into the next general election just in a few weeks' time with the most detailed, most positively received, yes, by media, housing policies of any political party. Policies which are ready to govern this country, policies designed for the British people, policies designed to do what is right, not just because they are politically correct. So our policies will end right to buy for foreign nationals. Foreign nationals who have served for Her Majesty's Armed Forces will not lose their entitlement. Yet we will be the first government to reinvest 100% of the proceeds from Right to Buy into more community housing so desperately needed. We will go further still, because protecting the countryside means protecting the British way of life, protecting our villages. And we will do so by promoting smaller 6 to 12 unit developments, whilst giving local communities the power to overturn large-scale developments using local referenda. Local democracy at work. We will do something that should have been done, quite frankly, a long time ago. We will produce more affordable housing by changing the planning presumption in favour of residential in off-high street and commercial buildings. Most importantly, we will make brownfield development more attractive than ever before. We will do so by issuing brownfield bonds, providing decontamination assessment grants, exempting stamp duty from all brownfield first builds, and taking away VAT from all brownfield conversion costs. Ladies and gentlemen, do not believe the political establishment who are trying to persuade you that we have to concrete our countryside. There are 66,000 hectares of land, brownfield land, in England alone, a third of which are in high-growth areas like London and the South East. We have made the case that there is indeed no need to concrete an inch of countryside. Our target: to build 1 million homes on brownfield land by 2025. We are the only party who will reform our much outdated leasehold law, giving further protection to leaseholders. The end of horror stories of elderly disabled people finding themselves on the streets because of unscrupulous freeholders. We will make it easier for people to extend their leases and to challenge unreasonable service charges. Limiting rights of forfeiture to only the most extreme cases. In my opinion, council housing entitlement should be first and foremost for those who have contributed to the system. It is time, long overdue, that we ended the perception that British people are at the back of the housing queue. Just yesterday, figures were released that show that under this big society Tory government, homelessness has surged by 55%. Many sleeping rough are ex-soldiers who have just returned fighting for us, risking life and limb in war zones around the world. We expect people to die for us, but we cannot even provide shelter for them. Our first pledge, our first priority will be to impose a strict duty of care on all local authorities to find accommodation on all ex-servicemen in need at their expiry of service. We are a party that will tackle both homelessness and the effects of homelessness on the lives of ordinary people. Just think for a moment, there are 10 empty homes for every single person sleeping rough tonight. And successive governments have failed to bring those properties back into use. Our Houses to Homes initiative will strive to finally bring back to use a third of these properties which are shamefully lying empty, estimated at about 760,000 homes within the first term of a UKIP parliament. But we will not stop there. We will ensure that every homeless person has full access to medical facilities, including a GP, a dentist, an optician, and more importantly, mental health professionals. Homeless persons are more likely to be victims of violence, of sexual and psychological abuse, and it is right that we will afford them the same protection under the law and through the police as any other British citizen. And indeed the same access to welfare and benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now entering the final furlong of the 2015 general election. Our nation is at a crossroads of choices, and none of us can be really sure what the outcome or the consequences of this general election will be for our country. But I tell you this, we enter this election as the party of hope. We enter as actually the only party with something different to say. I know, like all the speakers, when I'm speaking here today at this conference with all the media coverage, we are speaking not only to you here, but to people across the length and breadth of our country. People who, like us, are sick and tired of what the career politicians have done to our country. I know that many of you out there will be disappointed with all politicians, with the empty promises of politicians from the right, left, centre. So much so that some of you in the past may not even have considered the need to vote. But to you I say, on May the 7th, you have the chance to vote for a party that is not held back by ideology, to a party driven by the belief that you, the British people, deserve better. And I promise you this, that this party will not hide in the shadows of history whilst Conservatives, Labour and Lib Dem politicians sign away with a pen the freedoms and national independence of this country which has been won with blood and sacrifice. So if you too believe in Great Britain, if you want to see a different kind of politics, politics led from the people up rather than the politicians down, if you want a fresh start for our country, for our communities, for your families, join Nigel Farage and the People's Army. And together on May the 7th, let's show the political elite that have neglected us, that is disconnected from us, just how much, when it comes to the crunch, the British people believe in Britain. Thank you.